Hello all and welcome back to Time to Dice Character Creation, where we make your favorite fictional characters in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Happy October everyone! To celebrate, we got a lineup of spooky characters dropping every Friday this month. Today we're crafting none other than Agatha Harkness. Agatha is a centuries-old witch willing to do whatever it takes to amass as much power as possible. In the MCU, she's painted as a pure villain, but in the comics, she's more of a, let's say, chaotic neutral figure. She's been everything from a nanny to the Fantastic Four, to a mentor for Scarlet Witch, and even a teacher at Strange Academy. So beware of spoilers, and without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so what do we need to build Agatha? Well, we're primarily focusing on the MCU version of Agatha Harkness, with a few nods to her comic book iterations where it fits. First off, we've got to take powers from the undeserving. That's kind of our trademark move. Next, we need to dabble in a little bit of magic. Agatha was the only one in the show who could resist Wanda's mind manipulation, and let's be honest, she has no issue using it herself when the occasion calls for it. And finally, we've got to be able to build a coven. Now, Agatha's usually too selfish to rely much on teamwork, but the new show, Agatha All Along, seems to focus on her building a coven to regain her powers. So let's dabble into that too. Because what's a power-hungry witch without a few minions to boss around? For our ancestry, despite her being several hundred years old, Agatha is still a human. That means 8 hit points, a boost to intelligence and charisma, and a 25-foot movement speed. We'll also grab the versatile human heritage, which lets us pick up the Die Hard feat. After surviving one too many execution stakes, you can bet Agatha's got this feat in her back pocket. It lets us survive until dying 5 instead of dying 4. For our background, we're going to go with the occult librarian to reflect Agatha's time spent studying dark magic. This gives us another boost to intelligence for casting hexes, and a boost to wisdom for resisting them. The background also provides training in occultism and academia lore, perfect for identifying secret symbols of cults or similar organizations. Plus, it lets us use our deception score to infiltrate these groups, because who better to sneak into a dark ritual than a witch who practically wrote the book on them? For our class, it should be obvious by now, but we are going to go witch. Technically, Agatha had to put a lot of work to learn her spells, in much of the way a wizard would, but the Darkhold gave her a little bit of a jump start on her power, so we're going to use that as our patron. Witches get trained in perception, fortitude, and reflex saves. In the world of defensive characters, Agatha is not one of them. We do, however, get expert will saves to resist mind control. We're also trained in simple weapons, and naturally we get training in the fine art of not wearing armor. For our attributes, strength and dexterity are both at 0. Training for Agatha doesn't exactly involve lifting weights or hitting the treadmill. Constitution is at a +1. It's not the best, but when you can go toe-to-toe with Scarlet Witch and survive, you can claim to be at least a little bit durable. Intelligence comes in at a whopping +4. Agatha may be an all-powerful witch capable of absorbing limitless magic, but she studies hard for that power, making her a huge nerd. Both wisdom and charisma sit at a +2. Wisdom helps her resist magical influences, and charisma, well, because Agatha is a natural when it comes to deception and charm. By the way, did you know that if you like and subscribe, you are 10 times more likely to win the lottery? That's probably not true, but now that I've said it, there's only one way to know for sure. And I'm just saying, there have been 0 lottery winners who have seen any of our videos, and they haven't liked and subscribed, so you might as well try it out. And if it doesn't work, you should probably try commenting and sharing. See if that does the trick. We are trying a different way of covering skill feats in this video, and we would really like to know how you like it. Anyway, on with the video. Alright, level 1 is always the toughest part of any build, and for spellcasters, it's doubly so. So let's get started. First, we need to select our patron. The inscribed one is perfect, representing the Book of the Damned, pouring eldritch secrets straight into our mind. This makes our spellcasting arcane and gives us access to the runic weapon spell and the discern secrets hex. We also get a familiar. Whether you want to go with a rabbit like in the show or a cat to represent Agatha's cat Ebony from the comics, feel free to get creative. For our ancestry feat, we're taking Witch Warden, which fits perfectly with the Darkhold's chapter on how to resist other witches. This feat grants us a +1 circumstance bonus on any save against a curse effect, or any effect produced by a hag or a witch. Though, if you ask Agatha, she'd probably say that a Venn diagram is basically a circle. Finally, at level 1, we get access to spellcasting. Agatha is one of those rare characters where it makes perfect sense to grab as many spells as possible. She spent centuries studying all forms of magic. While there are plenty of room for you to customize your own choices, we're going to focus on the spells that reflect the abilities she's directly used in the show. For our cantrip, we've got Daze to represent a bit of harmful mind magic, Detect Magic so we can sense strong spellcasters nearby, Mage Hand for some low-level telekinesis, Figment for basic illusions, and finally Chill Touch to drain the life from our foes, because nothing says Agatha like sucking the vitality right out of someone. For our first rank spells, Befuddle lets us spread confusion wherever we go, making our foes clumsy, stupefied, and even confused on a critical failure. It's perfect for turning minds into mush. And Charm, well, that's our way to get into the good graces of a neighbor. So we can kidnap their children and figure out how they're using all of this magic. Agatha all along is really just a wizard being envious of a sorcerer for not having to learn her magic. At level 2, we pick up the Counterspell feat, allowing us to nullify the magic of anyone who dares cast a spell we know and have prepared. Don't worry, we'll find a way to turn that spell back on our foes later. For now, just focus on always having that basic magic blast that every spellcaster in the MCU seems to know on standby. We also stack the Root Magic skill feat at this level. This lets us prepare a magical talisman that grants an ally a bit of protection from one spell or haunt thrown their way. Sure, Agatha's selfish, but she knows how to protect her allies, at least until she's gotten what she wants from them. At level 3, we can pick up the Incredible Initiative, giving us a +2 bonus to all initiative checks, ensuring we stay one step ahead of our enemies. We also gain access to rank 2 spells. Umbral Extraction will be a staple in our arsenal, letting us attempt to steal a spell slot from a foe that's one level below the rank we cast the spell at. This lets us take their magic and turn it against them. I don't think anything could be more Agatha. And if you think your opponent's too powerful to easily steal their spells, hit them with Stupefy. This makes them stupefied for a few rounds, setting them up for you to snatch their magic in the next round with ease. At level 4, hiding our magical nature becomes much easier with the Conceal spell feat. This allows us to add the Subtle trait to any of our spells for the low cost of 1 action. We also gain the Recognize Spell skill feat, letting us identify incoming magic so we can dodge or counter it more effectively. If the Darkhold has a whole chapter on Scarlet Witch, you can bet it covers the more mundane magical effects too. At level 5, our Fortitude saves are bumped to Expert thanks to the class feature Magical Fortitude, giving us a bit more durability. We also grab the Ancestry feat Sense Allies, which lets us keep tabs on all members of our coven at all times. I'm not saying Agatha's paranoid, but actually, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Also at this level, we get rank 3 spells, meaning we can use Umbral Extraction to gain higher level spells. Or, if you actually want more options, rather than riding Umbral Extraction all the way to rank 10, like I would, we can take Elemental Absorption to absorb any damage from a particular element and release it back at a target with a blast of absorbed magic. And for more physical threats, we can take the Magical Fetter spell to debuff foes, making them slower and easier to hit. At level 6, we can place a tracking sigil on a willing creature, allowing us to always know the distance and direction. Perfect for keeping tabs on someone, whether it's for their own safety or because Agatha just likes to be in control. We also gain Oddity Identification at this level, which lets us automatically recognize if an effect we encounter has the Mental, Fortune, Misfortune, Detection, Prediction, Revelation, or Scrying traits. Plus, it gives us a +2 bonus to further identify those effects. Agatha's been around long enough to know when something's not quite right, and now, so will we. At level 7, we truly become an expert in all things magic with the Expert Spellcaster feature, increasing our spellcasting DC to Expert. This means our spells are hitting harder and are much harder to resist. We also pick up the Quick Recognition skill feat, allowing us to recognize a spell once per round as a free action instead of a reaction. This is key, because we'll be grabbing a few different reactions later on, and we don't want them competing with our limited reaction slot. It's an odd level, and you know what that means? Another rank for spells. For our rank 4 spells, let's grab Dispelling Globe, which creates a barrier of runes that shuts down enemy spellcasters trying to target you. Agatha's not about to let anyone else's magic get in the way of hers. We're also picking up Umbral Grasp, which lets us steal spell effects after a target has buffed themselves. This strips the benefit right off them and grants it to you or an ally instead, because why just neutralize their magic when you can take it for yourself? At level 8, we gain the class feat Steady Spellcasting, giving us a chance to hold onto a spell when something would normally interrupt it. This keeps our magic flow steady, even when chaos tries to break our concentration. We also pick up the skill feat Charming Liar, allowing us to make an impression using deception instead of diplomacy. Because what's the point of lying if you can't make the target feel good while doing it? At level 9, we get the multi-talented Ancestry feat, allowing us to pick up the Thaumaturge Dedication. This gives the Darkhold a mechanical benefit, letting us consult the book to glimpse a target's weaknesses. They'll have a weakness of 2 to our weapon attacks and unarmed strikes. Okay, it might not seem great right now, but trust me, we'll put this to good use soon enough. We also get Reflex Expertise, boosting our reflex saves to Expert, and gain access to rank 5 spells. The Shadow Siphon spell allows us to counteract any incoming spell, with the counteract rank counting as 2 levels higher than the actual rank used to cast the spell. The catch? On a successful counteract check, rather than completely dismissing the spell, it only deals half damage. We can also pick up the Hallucination spell, which lets us make one thing appear as another. You know, like making yourself look like a sitcom character for the hit show WandaVision. At level 10, we get our second feat from Thaumaturge, Disturbing Knowledge. This not only provides us with a few extra skill increases, but also grants us an additional skill feat. Disturbing Knowledge lets us whisper unsettling secrets into an opponent's ear to throw them off guard. You know, something like, nothing around you is real, and you've subconsciously held a town full of people hostage to deal with the loss of your dead husband. That ought to do the trick. We also pick up Dirty Trick, allowing us to pull off simple acts to make a foe clumsy, like tying their shoelaces together, because sometimes a little mischief goes a long way. At level 11, we gain the general feat Numb to Death. Like any character with a long history in comics, you've probably died a couple of times, and it doesn't seem to bother you at all. You just keep coming back for more. We also get Perception Expertise and Weapon Expertise features. Can you guess what those do? Finally, level 11 grants us access to 6th rank spells. Let's take Dominate to show Wanda she's not the only one out there who can mind control random bystanders. And Baleful Polymorph allows us to transform our enemies into ants, ready to be squashed beneath our boots. At level 12, we gain access to the Coven spell class feat, allowing us to either make an ally spell stronger or apply one of the spell shape effects we have onto their spell. We also pick up the Break Curse skill feat, which lets us, break curses. It's kind of self-explanatory. At level 13, we perform a little maintenance on some of our lesser used stats. With the Defensive Robes feature, our armor proficiency increases to Expert, giving us better protection. We also gain Weapon Specialization, providing a small damage boost to our weapon attacks. Not the most groundbreaking upgrades, but they might come in handy now and then. Far more applicable is the Ancestry feat Shadow Pact, which lets us inflict 1 point of damage to ourselves in order to cast a 5th rank creation spell. And then there's Spell Repose, which lets us use our reaction to not only counteract any spell being thrown our way, but also reflect it back to the caster. Level 14 grants us another method to throw an opponent's magic back at them with the Reflect spell class feat. This allows us to turn an opponent's magic back at them whenever we successfully use Counterspell. While it's not as broadly applicable as Spell Repose, it doesn't use up a resource, making it a handy tool in our arsenal. We also gain the skill feat Bizarre Magic, which increases the DC to recognize any of our spells by 5. It may not be the most game-breaking feat, but it's definitely fitting for Agatha's mysterious and unpredictable style. At level 15, we gain the Fleet feat, giving us a 5-foot bonus to our movement speed. With any luck, this should be just enough to stay out of an opponent's reach. However, the far more powerful feature is Master Spellcaster, which boosts our spellcasting proficiency to Master level. But I know you really want to hear about our new 8th rank spells to play that newly increased spell proficiency. Anti-Magic Field shuts down all spellcasting within a 10-foot emanation, making it a perfect counter to any pesky spellcaster. And then there's Hidden Mind spell, granting us a little mental protection to defend against Wanda's tricks, at least until she gets serious. At level 16, we gain the Implement Initiate class feat, allowing us to crack open the Darkhold for a +1 bonus to any Recall Knowledge check we make while holding it. But that's not all. Each morning, we can read over the Darkhold to become expert in 2 skills of our choice, making it a powerful tool for knowledge and mastery. This level also grants us the skill feat Unified Theory, allowing us to substitute any nature, religion, or occultism check for a much higher Arcana skill instead. This doesn't help much with occultism checks, but our religion and nature skills are very thankful. At level 17, we're taking Natural Ambition to get the Reach spell class feat, allowing us to add an extra 30 feet to range of any spell that we cast. While this might not seem like much, remember that with the Coven spell feat, we can apply this Reach bonus to any ally spell as well as our own. Talk about expanding our magical influence. We also gain access to the highest spells we can learn naturally, our 9th rank spells. Instead of needing to absorb a foe's magic with one spell and then blast them with another action, we can simply use Detonate Magic, which unleashes a devastating explosion of energy. And let's not forget the Divinity Leech spell, which allows us to specifically absorb divine magic, granting us a bit of self-healing every time an enemy uses a divine spell. At level 18, we pick up the Turn Away Misfortune class feat alongside basic Thaumaturgy, allowing us to use our reaction to ignore any misfortune effects that would be impacting to our rolls. We also gain the Discreet Inquiry feat, enabling us to gather information without anyone being the wiser. With this skill, Agatha can dig up secrets and intel while keeping her true intentions hidden. At level 19, Assured Identification ensures that while we may not always know what something is, we will never misidentify it. This is a nice touch for Agatha, especially considering her penchant for uncovering secrets. We also gain Legendary Spellcaster, solidifying her status as one of the world's most powerful witches. Plus, Patron's Gift gives us access to some of the strongest magics known to mankind. For our 10th rank spell, we're choosing Nullify, allowing us to use a reaction to counteract an opponent's spell. No questions asked. The only catch? We take damage equal to the number of d8s equal to the spell's rank. And finally, at level 20, we receive Know-It-All feat from the Thaumaturge list. Now, whenever we succeed on a Recall Knowledge check, we critically succeed instead. Just imagine Agatha reciting pages of forbidden knowledge from the Darkhold, with all the flair of a seasoned villain. Oh, and we also gain Quick Identification, further cementing our reputation as the ultimate source of arcane wisdom. Alright, let's finish this build off with the pros and cons. First off, we are a full spellcaster. It's really hard to be a full spellcaster and not be good with our wide range of spells. We have so much to offer any party. Next, we have a Legendary Arcana score, Unified Theory to make all our Recall Knowledge checks, use Arcana for a +1 circumstance bonus to all Recall Knowledge checks, and treat all successful Recall Knowledge checks as critical successes. You're going to have a hard time finding any topic you don't know about. And finally, we are a Mage Killer. With about half a dozen different ways to shut down any enemy spellcaster or turn their magic back on them, this build could get real frustrating to DMs fast. For our cons, we don't have really any physical defenses. Half a dozen ways to deal with spellcasters doesn't mean much when a single goblin runs up and stabs you in your shin and you bleed out. Next, we don't really have any offenses either. You may have noticed, but we only really have one non-cantrip spell that's job was to do damage. So if a foe can survive past all your tricks, you aren't actually that hard to beat in a damage race. And finally, this goes back to just cons 1 and 2, but martial characters really don't care if you can shut off all magic in the tri-state area. They're going to run in, stab you, and you don't really have an answer for that. Or do you remember I only covered a few of the spells you get at each rank? You have 10 more spell slots to fill, and that's more than enough to cover this build's weaknesses. Wall of Force to deal with martials, Mage Armor to deal with the lack of defenses, Falling Stars to deal damage. Go wild! Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch our video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And also, please be sure to mention if you like the way we did skill feats this time, including them per level instead of having them all at the end. Thank you guys!